MMOs are dead. They're fucking dead! What's up guys, my name is Graham. I am a variety streamer over at twitch.tv/Graham Plays, and I also run this YouTube channel where I talk about anything in the gaming industry which happens to catch my eye. This week I've been thinking a lot about MMOs and the sort of MMO genre at large. So I wanted to have a little bit of an analysis and discussion around that. What sort of brought this up for me was another fucking Jason Schreier article over at Bloomberg, which I'll link to again down below. This time Schreier reported that the Lord of the Rings MMO, which had been in development by Amazon Game Studios, got canned. And this was particularly disappointing to me because I like MMOs, I've been looking for a new one to get into for a long time, and I'm a massive Lord of the Rings fan as well, so this was like fucking made for me in theory. Little bit of background about the game, although that's kind of not the main purpose for this video. It was announced in 2019, it was being developed by Amazon Game Studios. We knew basically nothing about it beyond that, to be honest. Schreier reports that it was cancelled due to contract disputes between Amazon and Tencent, who are the Chinese company that bought the Chinese company who Amazon had originally partnered with to make the game. So this was a bit of a bummer for me, and it brought the whole sort of MMO genre to the forefront of my mind. Specifically, what I kind of wanted to talk about was the absolute fucking state of the genre as a whole, to be honest, particularly when you compare it to other genres of games. What I mean by this is that the MMO genre is really the only genre out there where the top games, the most populated games in that genre, are old as fuck. There's really been no innovation in the space in the last 15 years or so, maybe, give or take. There's literally no fucking other genre of game out there where that's the case, where like the lead game in a genre is still a game from fucking 2004, World of Warcraft of course. Even if you look at the games that have come along since World of Warcraft and taken a reasonable market share, for example ESO or Final Fantasy XIV, they're like early 2010 games, so that's still like 10 years ago, and arguably they don't really do anything that World of Warcraft doesn't do, and World of Warcraft's a 2004 game. You know, for a bit of context to compare it to other genres, right? 2004, I went back, the year World of Warcraft came out. That was the year that Grand Theft Auto San Andreas came out, and the Spider-Man 2 movie tie-in game came out. And both of those were fucking fantastic games. Both of those are two of my favourite games ever. I fucking loved them when I was a kid. Absolutely loved them. And in the case of San Andreas, I was probably far too young to be fucking playing it. Silly mum and dad. I blame the parents. So yeah, both of those were good games. But look how far they've come. Now compare GTA San Andreas to GTA 5, compare Spider-Man 2 to Sucker Punch's Spider-Man and Miles Morales. Those types of games have come on leaps and bounds since then. Absolute leaps and bounds. And yet it's still World of Warcraft that's the biggest MMO that came out at the same time as them. That's crazy to think that a game that came out at the same time as Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is still the fucking leading game in the MMO space. It's fucking insane. And what makes this sort of even worse, and makes me really sad to be honest, because as I say, I've been looking for a good MMO to get in at the start of for a while now. What makes this really sad for me is when you look ahead, there's nothing coming that's going to change this anytime soon. There's no one making any reasonably looking MMOs. I mean, what have we got, right? We've got New World that keeps getting delayed. That's another Amazon game. I have no fucking faith that Amazon will ever put out anything resembling a remotely successful video game. I just don't think it's going to happen. And anyway, from what I've seen from New World, I don't fucking like it. It looks garbage. It looks so boring. I'm just not interested in it at all. Then there's the one that a lot of people are pinning their hopes on in the MMO space, Ashes of Creation. There's a lot of people are super hyped about it, and it might be good. I'm not saying it won't be, I don't know, but equally there's a lot of like influencers and stuff out there saying, yeah, maybe be wary about this game, like don't pin all your hopes on it. And for me, there's no smoke without fire with that kind of thing. And beyond that, there's nothing. There's literally nothing. That's it. Those are the two games. Riot announced that they were making an MMO a while ago. We've not seen anything from that. We know it's going to be set in the League of Legends world. We've not seen anything from that. We don't know anything about it. So it's kind of hard to get excited for that. And then there was this Lord of the Rings MMO that Amazon have just canned. And that's it. So, yeah. In summary, I really want to play a fucking MMO, and I'm pissed because there just isn't one. I subbed to World of Warcraft again for like, a month, and I think I made it like a week before I just cancelled my fucking subscription again. I just can't be arsed with it. It's just so fucking boring and not fun anymore. Nobody talks to each other. It's just pish. It's absolutely pish. I wanted to go a little bit further than just sort of ranting about how nobody's making MMOs, and I wanted to kind of try and examine why that's the case. Because on one hand I'm kind of pissed that nobody's making MMOs, but on the other I can sort of see the reasons for it. So I mean, the very simple explanation is that MMOs are just fucking expensive to make. They're so expensive to make, and it's not just the initial development. You need to have a roadmap, you need to have a plan for the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years, otherwise nobody's fucking gonna pick it up in the first place. So it's a big commitment for developers and publishers. Combine that with the fact that MMOs generally have a really low success rate. Again, games like ESO and Final Fantasy XIV seem to do pretty well, albeit they're not in any danger of actually overthrowing World of Warcraft. But that's just like 2 games, and there are a couple others that have a reasonable player base. I'm beyond those 2, but there's been a lot more MMOs who have come along and tried since the initial release of World of Warcraft and have failed miserably. I mean, just off the top of my head, you've got Rift, Wildstar, SWTOR, DCUO, EverQuest 2, Skyforge, literally just listing things off the top of my head. The best that these games achieved was they had a reasonable launch. They were pretty popular for a couple of weeks to maybe like a month, say, until people started hitting level cap and realising the end game was fucked, more or less. And then after that they maybe maintained like a sort of hardcore cult fan base. It was enough to keep the lights on, but not enough to really do much beyond that. So basically, MMOs really expensive to make, really low success rate. That means a lot of fucking risk for a publisher, and publishers are naturally risk averse anyway. And if you are, you know, from a business perspective, if you're a publisher, why spend hundreds of millions of dollars developing an MMO that's got a really high chance of failure when you could just spend a fraction of that and crank out like a battle royale or some shit? So you can kind of understand why the genre is where it is. It just sort of sucks. And yeah, it's sad. The genre just feels kind of dead at this point. Feels like this weird genre game that's just been lost to time, more or less, and will never ever get back. You know, at the moment it kind of looks like WoW's popularity wanes every year, and with every passing expansion, it sort of seems at the minute like that's just going to keep happening until people get fed up with it entirely and MMOs just aren't a thing anymore. And that's something that I find quite upsetting, because some of my fondest memories are with a group of friends sort of living in an MMO. And yeah, I'd quite like to have some of those days back again.